The gospel today gives us an example of a leader coming to Jesus. And I think the conversation that Jesus has with Nicodemus is the conversation that he would have with anybody in a leadership position. So this is for parents who are leading their families, people that are in charge of businesses, people that are in charge of parishes like priests are, or any organization. There's something distinct about being in charge of somebody else. That's kind of a heavier responsibility. It's a different kind of responsibility than someone that just has to take care of themselves. And so what is this conversation that Jesus has with this ruler of the Jews? Jesus, in several different ways in this short conversation, challenges Nicodemus, but also at the same time models what he's expecting Nicodemus to do. And I think that's what's going on in leadership. The first part of the conversation, Nicodemus comes to him at night, and he says, "Rabbi, you're a teacher that has come from God. No one can do these signs unless God is with him." People who are public speakers know what it is when you flatter somebody. And when you say all these nice things about somebody. People that are sort of used to being in a leadership position or public speaking, they know that most of the time, flattery is because you want something from me. And that's why when you give compliments, a lot of times you can, like the person that you're giving the compliment to, if you're not sincere, they can tell you're not sincere. And I think Nicodemus, because he comes at night, he's embarrassed, he doesn't want people to see him. He gives Jesus these big compliments. "Oh, you're a teacher, you work these miracles." Jesus just brushes it all aside. "I don't care about any of that." It's not about compliments, it's not about flattery. And it's not about even performing signs and performing miracles. It's not about putting on a show for Jesus. It's about being born anew. If you want to be a good leader, a good father or mother, you have to change. You have to become a new kind of thing. And I think the people that take on a new kind of responsibility, it feels like a totally different world that they're living in. That means God is inviting you to transform, to be born anew. Not just to live the same old comfortable life that you were living, to give up that comfort and to say, "I'm going to sacrifice what I have, what I used to have, for the sake of these new people that I'm now supposed to take care of, that I'm now responsible for." And Nicodemus doesn't get it. "What do you mean? Am I supposed to enter my mother's womb and be born again?" He totally doesn't get it at all. And Jesus says, unless you are born of water and the Spirit, Jesus makes it not just a transformation, but a sacramental transformation. Water and the Spirit, baptism, the physical aspect of God's grace. The Word became flesh. And the continuation of the incarnation is the sacraments of the church, is the water of baptism, is the bread that becomes the body of Christ. And Christ is telling us, you who are bearing responsibility for somebody else, this is such a heavy burden, understand that you can't do this by yourself, without the grace of God that comes through the sacraments, especially through the Eucharist. And so I think the feeling of the sort of crushing responsibility of having to take care of somebody else should be relieved a little bit when we understand, no, God is helping me carry this. He's giving me on a daily basis the bread, the sustenance that I need to become a strong and better person and a better leader. Nicodemus still doesn't get it. He just basically says he's confused. How can this be? He just has no idea what's going on. And Jesus kind of chastises, "You're a leader, you're a teacher, and you don't get this?" And he says, "No one has ascended into heaven, but he who has descended from heaven, the Son of Man. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up." Refers to his crucifixion. What is he correcting there in the mind of Nicodemus? Nicodemus, the leader of a community, thinks that his goal, that his end point is victory. And political leaders especially, their mind is set on victory, on conquering their enemies or whatever that might be. And Jesus corrects that. What it really is to be a leader is not to destroy those that are against you. Just like when you're a parent, your goal is not to win an argument with your kids. As Moses lifted up the serpent, so will the Son of Man be lifted up. Lifted up not as a banner of victory over our enemies, lifted up on the cross. Leadership fundamentally is about self-sacrifice. Now, Jesus does this. He explains this to Nicodemus, but he also does it himself. He reflects the depth of transformation that's required of all of us. He himself provides the sacraments that we need. He himself shows us the way to sacrifice. What a real leader is not somebody that just tells everybody else what to do, but somebody who does it first and foremost themselves. And first and foremost, Jesus makes the sacrifice that he expects all of us to make for ourselves, but especially for those that we care about and that we're responsible for. And so, brothers and sisters, we approach today the Eucharist so that Christ can give us the strength to transform, to be born anew in him, and to live, to continue the sacramental life, and ultimately, finally, to make the sacrifices that we need to make so that we can live in the love of God.